If you were to go to maxpreps.com and search the top 100 recruiting class in 2013, you'd see number 1 is Jabari Parker, number 2 is Aaron Gordon, number 3 is Andrew Harrison, number 4 is Julius Randle, and number 5 is Aaron Harrison. If you looked at the ESPN top 100, you'd see that Andrew Harrison was ranked higher than Joel Embiid, and on CBS Sports, both twins had a higher ranking than Julius Randle. That year, John Calipari was able to get the Harrison twins, Julius Randle, Dakari Johnson, and James Young to sign with Kentucky. That's 5 players in the top 10 of the recruiting class alone signed to one university, with only one of those players being a household name in today's NBA and his name being riddled in NBA trade talks, which, by the way, I made a video about. I'll leave that bad boy in the description if you guys want to check it out. But I kind of get why James Young and Dakari Johnson are just warming up the bench for their teams. But I've had a tough time wrapping my head around the Harrison twins. I mean, coming out of Travis High School in Richmond, Texas, Andrew Harrison was viewed as a prototypical point guard who had great court vision and excellent size, while Aaron Harrison was viewed as a multi-dimensional scoring threat that could put buckets on the board in multiple ways. So my question is, what happened to the Harrison twins? How can 2 players who were literally in the top 5 of many recruiting class rankings barely be a factor in the NBA? How could they go undrafted after committing to the University of Kentucky, a famous one-and-done factory? I'll give you guys some time to let me know what went wrong in the comment section down below. What's going on, guys? FlightMike here, and I wanted to welcome you guys to yet another episode of my What Happened To series. In this series, we try to find a former high school, NCAA, or even a NBA stud and figure out what went wrong in his career and why he is currently struggling. I wanted to remind you guys that you have a voice in deciding which players we cover next. All you have to do is comment what player you'd like a video to be made on in the comment section down below. The 2 players that get the most thumbs up will be posted onto my Instagram story in a poll for you guys to vote on. The winner of that poll will have a video made on them. If you guys are enjoying my content, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to be alerted that I made a new video. Now, onto my dudes, the Harrison twins. The Harrison twins were born 1 minute apart, with Aaron being the older of the 2 twins by 1 minute. They would attend Travis High School in South Bend, Texas, and that's where their legend grew. On May 27th, Aaron Harrison would drop 42 points in Houston, which would include 35 points in a row as a high schooler. While Aaron Harrison was known as the scoring threat, Andrew was able to establish himself as the number 1 point guard in the recruiting class. Aaron would average 23 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals per game while shooting 45% from the field and 33% from 3. Whereas Andrew Harrison would average 14 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 0.8 steals per game to go with a 48% field goal percentage. Both twins would commit to Kentucky after being ranked in the top 10, and the future seemed incredibly bright for the duo, who were part of one of the best recruiting class hauls in college basketball history by John Calipari. In 2013, Coach Cal established himself as a premier recruiter. Everyone knew that if you wanted to be a lottery pick in the NBA, you would go to Kentucky for a year. Coach Cal would make you look good, then off to the NBA you went. John Calipari would not take you back if you were a lottery pick, and that was that. But for every Derrick Rose, John Wall, and DeMarcus Cousins, there was a Marquise Teague, Daniel Orton, and more recently, the Harrison twins. Quite simply put, there was too much talent on Kentucky to make everyone look good, and some players had to suffer in order for other players to look good. In the case of the Harrison twins, they were not the primary option during their freshman year, when the game revolved mostly around Julius Randle, a power forward who played like a small forward, who liked to drive into the paint, body his opponent, and get the basket. As freshman, Andrew Harrison would average 11 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists per game off of 37% field goal shooting and 35% three-point percentage. His advanced metrics were a 51% true shooting percentage and a 21% usage rate. Andrew would start all but 1 game. Although Andrew was known as the better of the 2 twins, it was Aaron that stole the show during the NCAA tournament. Had it not been for Aaron, the Kentucky Wildcats would have been finished in the Sweet 16. But it was Aaron that made not 1, not 2, but 3. Yes, 3 consecutive game winners to lift the Kentucky Wildcats over Louisville in the Sweet 16, Michigan in the Elite 8, and Wisconsin in the Final 4. This man literally backpacked the Kentucky Wildcats all the way to the national championship game. The Wildcats would lose the national championship game to the UConn Huskies 60-54, but it had not been for Aaron Harrison, the Wildcats would have been knocked out in the Sweet 16. After 3 back-to-back game winners, you would think that Aaron would be ready to declare for the NBA, right? Well, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. The Harrisons wanted to get to the NBA as soon as possible, but the NBA just didn't see the appeal of the twins. One scout said it'd be good for both of them to go back next year. I don't think anybody's really high on them. Another scout said many teams are intrigued by their size, but there are questions about their speed, explosiveness, and shooting ability. One scout even went as far as to call them average and said that Andrew moved up to the high second round, but prior to that, they weren't even in the top 60 for some teams. Ouch. So the Harrisons come back for another year, and this time there was another smorgasbord of Kentucky talent coming to join them. This year they had Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns, Trey Lyles, and Tyler Ulis, in addition to Willie Cauley-Stein and Dakari Johnson, who was already on the squad. I don't know if you remember, but that year there were many jokes going around that the Kentucky Wildcats could easily beat the Philadelphia 76ers, and honestly, I think there may have been a chance for them. That team was absolutely loaded, but what happens when a huge recruiting class comes in? Chances are you'll have fewer chances to prove yourself. And that's what happened with the Harrison twins once again. As a sophomore, Andrew would average 9 points, 3.6 assists, and 2 rebounds per game while shooting 38% from the field with a 38% three-point percentage. His win shares did increase from 3.2 to 5.1, and his usage was at a 21%, while Aaron Harrison averaged 11 points, 2.6 rebounds, and 1.4 assists per game, shooting 40% from the field and 32% from 3. But the Harrisons would only validate what most scouts thought of them, that they were just average players. Andrew Harrison would get drafted with the 44th pick by the Phoenix Suns, only to be traded to the Memphis Grizzlies. He currently plays for the Memphis Grizzlies. Aaron Harrison would go undrafted, playing for the Hornets at first, then jumping from the Magic and OKC Thunder D-League teams. He currently plays for the 87ers in the G League. So I'm sure we're all wondering the same thing here. What happened? Well, here's the main explanation for me. If the Harrisons are truly just average talent, then there was just simply too much talent on both Kentucky teams to allow the Harrisons to shine. With 4 5-star recruits in their freshman year and 4 more coming in their sophomore year, the Wildcats were too top-heavy to allow the Harrisons to truly show off their game. Combine this with them being impatient about going to the NBA, and that led to the twins going to the NBA at the wrong time. Now imagine if they stayed for their junior year, where the best Kentucky players were Tyler Ulis, Jamal Murray, and a struggling Skal Labissiere. That would have given them a greater chance to prove themselves. But at the end of the day, if they were never able to get acclimated to the college game, what would have been the point? If the Harrisons were truly just average talent, that means they just got lucky with their incredibly high ranking in high school. Perhaps they should have leveraged this into a scholarship for their education. But for now, I don't know about you guys, I'm personally very bummed out as a person that grew up watching them on Ball Is Life. I remember watching Aaron and Andrew Harrison just put up crazy highlight reels on YouTube. And the fact that they are not a really big factor in the NBA sort of bums me out. I'm hoping that they can turn things around, or perhaps they may not and end up overseas. But one thing that I'm wondering is, what could have happened if the Harrisons went to a different college as opposed to Kentucky? What if they went to a college that really valued them as 5-star recruits? A college that rarely got any 5-star recruits? What would have happened? Would they have had game plans tailor-made to their skill sets? Or would they have just been average, just as they are now? Maybe they leaned on each other way too much as brothers. The good news is both brothers are still young, they're 23 years old, but time is running out, and once a player usually hits 25 or 26, teams tend to give up on developing them. But let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think went wrong with the Harrison twins? I'm your boy, the Flight Mike, and I'll catch y'all later, Mike Mafia.